Okay, ladies and gentlemen, come dive into the open minds where you can broaden your perspectives, expand your horizons, and open your eyes to a reality never thought possible. Just remember, once you open that door, there's no going back. I am your host, Robbie Diesel, and this is the Open Minds Show. And tonight's episode is Financial Advisor with my guest, Aaron. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. This is the fifth episode, so I appreciate you coming on and helping me get this off the ground and building a strong foundation. Uh, so what exactly is a financial advisor? Like what is your task as far as being a financial advisor?
So I would say our goal is probably to help anyone who's willing to, seek advice in the financial aspect. So that could be something as simple as just choosing investment options in, one of their retirement accounts to estate planning to tax planning and anything in regards to money. Basically, we can hopefully give some advice in.
Okay, so are you kind of like a because isn't that kind of like what a banker is too, as far as like when you go
Bank,
there?
Yeah, I would say in some aspect, maybe a little bit. We have a lot more, we've gone through a lot of testing and certifications and all that stuff. So we can give actual advice on specifics and stuff, whereas a banker is more very broad. They can't give, recommendations on what to buy, what to sell, how to strategically plan because they just haven't gone through, the testing and they're just not knowledgeable in that aspect.
Right. And I'm sure with the banker, they're probably just trying to get more customers to their bank, as in where you're just like completely financial literacy, as I take it,
Right, exactly.
trying to grow your customers. So, how long have you been doing this?
Yep. So I started in this team back in June of last year, and then
Uh,
I got all my licensing, required licensing done in August, and then kind of went through a couple other certification designation, we call them and stuff, and then now I transitioned to an advisor at the beginning of this year.
okay, cool. So you got are you under a pretty solid team?
Yeah, very solid team. Our team's called Legacy Financial Partners, and we're kind of spread out all throughout the Midwest. So North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, Minnesota, you name it, and we're kind of like all over the Midwest here.
What's the experience behind your firm as far as like the years?
Um, I would say I don't know off the bat, but I would say it's probably close to about 30 or 40 years.
Oh,
So,
wow.
it started out with kind of one guy and now, it just rapidly growth and expanded and stuff within our team. And we're constantly adding kind of different offices. And I would say the good thing about our team, which is probably different than, your Edward Jones or Northwestern Mutual, whatever company is, we can call up any other office who is, maybe knows more in a specific category like tax planning or estate planning and ask for their help and have them kind of join in on a case. So then our clients can kind of get the best service.
Right. All right. What's your favorite aspect of this career?
I would say helping people just get started. I mean, whether it's $1,000, or a million plus, I would say people who just get started, especially at a younger age like myself, you know, you will see it just pay off big in the long run, if you're kind of smart about the decisions you make.
Mhm. So now, do you directly like, does somebody like come in and like give you money and you guys specifically management, or is it just kind of advice on what they should do with their money?
I would say there's both aspects, right? So there's
Okay.
people who they don't want to do anything themselves. They just want to come in. They say, you know what, you take care of it. You can, tell me what I should be doing. And they give us like full discretion, we call it. And then there's other people who are just, you know, they are like, I want to create an account and kind of get your advice here and there, but I want to do everything myself, which is fine too.
Uh,
So I would say it's a mixed bag. But I would say people who kind of seek an advisor are really looking for kind of that full management. So I would
right.
say maybe leans a little bit more on that end.
Right. So like when somebody comes in full management, like you're basically doing everything for them and you're kind of just giving them like a progress update along the way.
Yep, exactly. And so, exactly. So, let's say a 20 some year old kid comes in, he's like, I got my first job. help me choose the investment options in my 401k, or, how do I get started, right? We'll kind of start out that way. Then maybe it's 10 years down the road, he gets married or she and has a kid, now we're helping maybe college planning, making sure that they're protected in life insurance and all that stuff in case something happens. And then as it progresses, you know, they hit age 70, for example, and, now they're like, well, what's going to happen to my money and stuff when I die in 2010, however long, many years, how do I pass it along to the next generation effectively so all my assets don't go to the government and I have to pay a bunch of tax, right? So then it's maybe that aspect. So, it's a full transition, and some people just have, very basic questions, and some people it's a full in-depth thing. So it just
Right.
really varies there.
Yeah, I feel like if it was with my money, I'd probably want the in-depth experience.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly right, and that's kind of what we're here for, is just to help you with anything and everything.
Right. So, how, if you don't mind me asking, like, how many people do you manage currently?
So I think in this office, it's probably, well, I don't know the specifics. I would say probably, I don't know, 300 or 400 people, and then in our team, I would
Wow.
say it's pushing maybe 10,000 or so. But you got to
Wow.
remember too, right? Some people, it might be, and it's kind of weird how they count it, but it might be, right, like a family, and then right there's 4 people.
Oh,
Where
okay.
some people might be a whole family, but just the one parent is actually doing stuff. So that's another person. So it just varies, but I would say that's probably a rough estimate there.
Right. So, do you do stuff with people's money on the stock market as well, or is it just kind of investing into like savings, 401ks and stuff like that?
Nope, it's definitely a lot. A lot has to do with the stock market too. So,
Okay.
it could be an individual stock, it could be ETFs. So that's kind of like a bunch of stocks put together in like a exchange traded fund is what it's called, or mutual funds or bonds. It varies, but yeah, the stock market's definitely a big aspect
Okay. What's your opinion on the stock market right now?
in terms of.
Bull or bear?
I
Are
mean,
we
as a
is
financial
is
advisor,
there is
we're
there
always
good
bullish as a financial advisor, but
right?
I would say right now, everything's looking good, but at the same time, right, things could change, and it's hard to just give a rough guess. And anyone who says they know where it's going, they're lying to you, because they don't, right? Something
Right.
could happen tomorrow and it could tank. It just is what it is.
Right. Optimism. I like it. So
Yeah.
what's the different types of the 401ks and Ross? Like what's the options there?
So I know it's kind of I would say a very broad question, but basically with the 401k nowadays, most companies will offer you, just a traditional 401k, which is all pre-tax. So your money goes into the 401k and you never pay tax on it.
Mhm.
And then there's also the Roth 401k option. So that's all the money has already been taxed. And then when you take it out in retirement, as long as you're meeting kind of these requirements and stuff, then you won't have to pay any tax on that.
Mm.
So there's kind of just the two aspects there. And, you can kind of get really in depth with all these different, requirements and all this other stuff, but those are pretty much the two broad aspects there.
Okay. In your opinion, what's the easiest way to manage your money?
Well, for one, probably get a financial advisor, but
I like it.
yeah, but I don't know. I would say, right, I would start if you're very new to just getting going in investing, or just, any sort of financial thing, probably just create a budget, right? See where you kind of lie at a month-to-month basis and how you're spending your cash, right?
Mm.
Because if you're, spending a bunch on, fast food, or, partying, or, just entertainment stuff, right? Then that's, it's all fun stuff. But when you're going to look back at age 60 and you're ready to retire, did you kind of blow some of that? Maybe, maybe not. So I would say probably just create a budget, get started that way. And then after that, see what you can do with that excess cash, whether that's investing, maybe it's just saving it, in case something does happen, like you get in a car crash and now you need to have some free cash to fix it, right?
Right.
So I would say just probably start with the budget, then kind of see where you're at, and then kind of go from there.
Kind of live within your means.
Right. Yeah. And even just, there's a lot of, I would say, apps or whatever where you can probably, they'll kind of help you and stuff. But, when you're looking at all aspects, that's where, right, we kind of come in and we can help with that aspect too.
Right. So do you like create budgets for clients as well for them to like maintain and keep?
I would say, right, if that's something they're looking for, we'll definitely help them kind of walk through that and just see how they're spending their money, right? So, start with how much they're making in a month, then we'll go down, the fixed expenses. So, electricity, their water bill, rent, or mortgage payment, right? And then kind of just go down the line. And then you got, kind of all your fun, travel expense and all that stuff. And then, just work your way down and kind of see what that is. So, yeah, I mean, we pretty much will help with anything.
So what is the typical, if you can answer this, what is the typical price cost for something like this? Like, what are you guys charging?
It varies. It
Okay.
really just varies. So, a lot of firms, including ours, right, you can just do like a flat fee on it, and that just varies too. And that'll basically cover everything. Or you can kind of go on like a transactional basis. So let's say, for example, you just want to come in and, buy a stock here and there, right? It just might be a fee each time you buy and sell or something like that. Whereas if you're doing the full aspect of planning and, you want a bunch of other stuff too, then we might kind of go like a flat fee. But sometimes too, it just might just be, a one-time, once a year payment or something like that too. So
Hmm.
it just really varies kind of on what you're looking for.
Right. So for example, if I came in with $5,000 and said, I just want you to invest this uh, for exponential growth, you would kind of break down and go over like, okay, well, you could do like risky, but the return is going to be good, or you could play it safe. Is it something like that?
Yep. So I'd first probably, start with what are you looking to get out of it and what's your time frame, right? What are your kind of goals with this money, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now? And are you going to need it in the meantime, right? Because that's going to depend on how we're going to invest it.
Right.
Then we'll probably want to take a look at all your other financials and just make sure that, if we invest it and let's say you break your leg tomorrow, are you all of a sudden now you're going to want the money right back? Because then it wouldn't make sense to invest it because then,
Right.
we just don't want to incur unnecessary fees and all that. So, I would say, you come in, you do that. We're going to go through all that process and then determine, right, if you're ready to go and invest it, see, yeah, if you can handle stock market and if you're risky and stuff, or maybe we kind of tone it down and go into a little bit safer investments or what. So it just depends.
Right. So do you yourself trade and invest in the stock market?
I do, yes.
Nice. What's so you must know about the meme stocks then, right?
I do, yep.
What's your opinion on those? You think it's a good or a bad thing?
I, so honestly, I don't really have really an opinion either way. I think like if you kind of looked at what's happened with some of them, I think it's funny. I
Mm-hmm.
think, right, it just kind of is what it is, right? Because you just have the everyday, investor or trader, since it's not really investing at that point, but
Right.
just almost taking control of some of these companies, which you typically don't see because a lot of these companies, and even the market is just kind of controlled by the bigger banks or the bigger investment companies or hedge funds or whatever, because that's just where all the money is. So to kind of
Right.
see the everyday, average investor like me or you, almost manipulate and kind of team up and control these, I think it's kind of funny. But, I don't have really an opinion if it's good or bad. It just kind of is what it is.
Right. It's just one of those things that hey, we got one in there, right? One little jab.
Yep. Yep. So
So
and it'll probably, happen again just because now it's, gained some traction and people are aware of it and they like it. So probably
right.
keep doing it.
You think there's a downside to that though? You think it could impose like more regulations or something like that, or change some rules and stuff?
It probably will, right? That's what always happens, when something, you know, when the government or whoever it is, or even right some of these big investment banks, they lose money, right, then they're always pushing to have something fixed so that doesn't happen to them.
Right.
So, I mean, it probably will happen where they'll put some sort of regulation on, and you've kind of seen it too, right, with some of these wild swings in these, meme stock names and stuff where they halted trading just because of how volatile it was and stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, right there, you kind of see it, and they've done that, for a while and stuff. But, I don't know, right? The market's supposed to be a free market, and everyone's supposed
Right.
to be able to buy and sell as they please. So, you can't, in my opinion, don't think you can't put too much regulation on it because that should always be kind of a free market.
Right. So then you're obviously familiar with Robinhood, the trading app as well too, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. When I first started, that's how I started on that app.
Did you? So would you
Mhm.
suggest that now, or is it kind of
I would say, I don't know if I'd suggest it or not suggest it. I think it just probably depends on what you're looking for, right? It's very easy to use, so that's a pro.
Mhm.
A con might be you can't contact them for help, and you probably won't get a response for 24 hours, at the earliest. So there's a con. So, I mean, it's good and bad. So I know for getting started, it might not be a bad idea, but there's probably also, better ways too.
Right. I think it's like with everything else. If the pros outweigh the cons, go for it. If not, if it doesn't seem to fit for you, then you probably shouldn't try it.
Right.
So what do you have any advice for any new traders?
I would say if you're first starting out, maybe do like a stock simulation game just so you can see how the market actually works. Because I think a lot of people will dive into the market and they think, oh, I can go buy Tesla stock and it went up 5%. Well, I can probably do that. But then it goes down 5% and now they're panicking and then they sell and they're like, well, I lost money. Now I don't want to do this ever again. So I think you got to kind of, either do some research and get familiar with it, or like I tell most people, just have a long-term perspective. So if you're going into, a stock and it tanks 10% the day right after you bought it, if your goal is to have that, not touch that money and stuff for 40 years, don't even worry about it if it's a solid company or fund or whatever it is. Just let the market kind of do its thing and keep an eye on it and make sure, right, it's not going to go bankrupt or whatever. But have a long-term perspective because, things just don't happen overnight.
Right.
So you just got to, constantly just keep that in mind and try to not worry about it as much.
So explain for the viewers what's the difference between a trader and an investor?
So a trader is someone who thinks that I would say probably they have a time perspective of, you know, for sure less than a year, right? So they're trying to buy in something and flip it within the year, if not right a lot sooner. And
Right.
then there's day traders who are constantly buying and selling within the same day and just trying to make a quick flip. An investor, and I would say I'm a mixed bag, but an investor is someone who is planning for the long haul and they'll park their money somewhere and just let it constantly grow, hopefully, and not really worry about the day-to-day fluctuations and focus more on the long-term goal.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of in a mixed bag there too. I have some securities that are long-term investments, and then when I see opportunities that I think are going to work out, I'll do like, swings or days and stuff like that.
Yep.
It
Yeah,
also depends on the time I have too, because sometimes with them day trades, you got to be on it.
and the thing is too, right? Trading, everyone thinks it's fun, and it is, right? If you're good at it and you can make money on it, most of the time that just doesn't happen, right?
Right.
So, I mean, like Warren Buffett's a perfect example, right? He always has a long-term time perspective in it, and that's what's made him very successful. So
Mhm.
he doesn't worry about, Coca-Cola having a bad earnings call and tanking, because he's long-term on that stock and has a long-term perspective.
Yeah, I think he was the one that says what, put $100 in a stock, invested in it, in 80 years you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah, probably something like that, but it just depends.
Aaron, I don't got 80 years, damn it.
Well, if you start early enough, you might.
That's why I need to call you.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So, what is your advice on like car loans and mortgages for somebody who's just starting out? How would they go about with starting the process of something like that?
So in terms of just, where to start
Or like
or if you
what
should
to,
do it.
or yeah, or what to look for, you know what I mean? Like if you're a new timer and you're not sure,
So I would say it just depends, right? And even for myself, when I kind of did my car loan, I went to a bunch of different companies who were going to finance it, whether it's the actual dealership or a bank, just get different opinions, and just ask someone who's maybe knowledgeable in that sector. So it could be a financial advisor like me. It could be just even the car salesman, or their car company financing team, right? Ask them as many questions as you can come up with. Hopefully do some research ahead of time so you know what's what the interest rate you're going to get and the time frame. But you got to start somewhere. So if you kind of have lower credit, expect a higher interest rate that you're going to have to pay. And just hopefully pay your stuff on time and just keep working toward paying off the loan.
right? What about as far as taxes with people? Because I know there's like some stuff that you could like reinvest or do stuff in certain things to where you won't have to like pay certain taxes or pay as much.
So I know taxes are kind of a tough category to give a straight answer on, and the reason I say that is right. It just depends on your income, kind of your goals again, and how you're kind of investing it, right? So for example, if you're in a low tax bracket now and you're young and you think that your earnings are only going to grow and you're going to be at a higher tax bracket come retirement, well, maybe you want to pay the taxes now and just kind of get it done with, and then hopefully you won't have to pay taxes again. And that might be something like a Roth, where maybe you're in the high tax bracket right now and you think, by when I retire, I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket. Then maybe you wait on paying the taxes and then kind of pay them when you're in a lower tax bracket in retirement. So it just kind of depends on your whole situation again, and you can kind of just go about it like that.
Nice. What do you think are like the do's and don'ts of like starting your own business from a financial advisor perspective?
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I haven't started my own business, so I can't give a really take on that. But I'm all for people, trying to start something new. Just do it probably in a smart manner and don't, you know, hopefully don't take out a bunch of loans and then your business goes belly up and all of a sudden now you're bankrupt and you owe a bunch of people. Hopefully that's not the case. But I'm all for kind of taking risks and stuff, and you know, hopefully it'll pay off, but sometimes it doesn't. So I would say just be smart about it. And I think like on Shark Tank, right, they always say the best financing is like selling your own product and trying to make money that way. Test the market. Don't just take out a huge loan and then hope it pays off, right? See if there's a market for your product or business or whatever it is. And hopefully just keep reinvesting in yourself that way.
Right. Yeah, that's good advice. I like that. So, do you think that the future is digital currency, or do you think we're gonna have a paperback for a long time?
So myself, I actually don't carry any physical dollars on me. I pay everything, with a card. So that could be considered digital. Um,
That's kind of what I mean. Like, you think like cash money paper is gonna like be gone in the future?
I think it's always going to be there or some form of physical money, just
Mhm.
because I don't know. My opinion is probably with anything that's electronical and stuff, right? There's always that possibility, whether it's very slim to none. There's always that possibility that something could go wrong, and you know you can wake up one morning and see your bank account at zero just because of a glitch, right? So you
Right.
never know. And so I think a lot of people always like to have that possibility of just being able to hold it in physical form. So
Right.
that's why I see gold is still relevant today, just because people will park their money in that because they think it's safer than keeping it in the bank. So
Right.
I don't know, but I do think as more people kind of grow on the concept and stuff, I think the transaction business probably just is easier digitally, just because they don't have to carry around more than just a card.
Right. Right. Well, I think that wraps it up then for tonight, man. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you having me, and hopefully, right, some of the listeners and stuff will get a little bit of a perspective on, the financial aspect, and hopefully start investing and saving and just being smart about some of their choices while young.
Yeah, why don't you tell them where they could email you at or reach you at? You have a website or something?
Yep. So if you just search me on Google, Aaron Muzzy, Williston Financial Advisor, my website will pop up. And we're actually right in Williston in the 2020 building. And our company is Ameriprise Financial, and our kind of team here is Legacy Financial Partners.
There you go, and there you have it, man. Thanks again, and I look forward to having you back on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good night.